It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP As We See It, a weekly syndicated show discussing the Southeastern Conference, college football, and other sports. Welcome to another edition of AP As We See It. We'd like to direct our audience to our social media platforms. Our visual broadcast is on our YouTube channel at AP As We See It. We have the audio broadcast archived on our Spotify at AP As We See It. And then we're on about 20 to 25 radio stations in the Southeast. It's broadcast on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, so you can check your local listings. We have the links to our broadcast on our Facebook account, our X account, our Instagram account, and that's at AP As We See It, and also my personal one at AP Stedham. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Greer's Market, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, serving the Gulf Coast and beyond for over 100 years. They have the Lucy's Famous Recipes, and she has a book you can purchase online as well and look for those recipes. Remember family, friends, and football. And we also add basketball, the basketball season, and the other sports. That's a winning tradition at Greer's, where you can score big savings on fresh meats, produce, and more for your game day spreads. If you can't make one of the 20 locations, you can click on groceries to go and deliver to your home, your office, your venue of choice. They have the coloring contest for the children. That's a lot of fun. And you can check your online ads for the weekly specials for all the various holidays, special occasions, anniversaries, birthdays. Mardi Gras just finished up, but that type of event as well. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We'd like to make mention of our guests this week. We have two guests. For segment 2, we have Courtney Mims. She's the sports director, FOX16 of Little Rock, Arkansas. She's going to discuss the Arkansas football program with their new head coach, Ryan Silverfield, and the quarterback situation and other things related to the Razorback football program. In segment 3 and 4, we have Cierra Clark. She's the host of the SEC on SECUnfiltered. She was able to cover the Broyles Award, which is given to the best, voted the best assistant in college football. So she spoke with a few coaches. Number one, Auburn, the new Auburn head coach, Alec Golish. He's coming from South Florida. And then also the University of Georgia offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo. We're also going to have some commentary about the SEC reputation right now. 3 times they've missed the national championship college football playoff. She was all over that Trinidad Chambliss decision. He's granted the 6th year of eligibility for the Ole Miss Rebels. And then we're going to have some thoughts and observations about the college football format with Cierra, and also some quarterback scenarios that affect the SEC, because we know, when we mention this over and over, the quarterback-centric era, that's the most important position. So we're going to have a good conversation with Cierra in segments 3 and 4. We'd like to get to our show now. Our first segment, we're going to have the Associated Press men's basketball weekly poll, number 15, week number 15. For the SEC, there's 4 teams: Florida at number 12, Vanderbilt number 18, Arkansas number 20, and Alabama number 25. There's about 60 voters, 60 to 62 voters in that Associated Press men's basketball poll that comes out weekly. And others receiving votes in the SEC on the men's side: Tennessee with 36 and Kentucky with 15. On the women's side, there's about 30 to 31 voters. 10 SEC teams are in the Week 15 Associated Press women's basketball poll. We have South Carolina at number 3, Texas number 4, Vanderbilt number 5, LSU number 7, Oklahoma number 11, Kentucky number 16, Ole Miss number 17, Tennessee 21, Georgia 24, and Alabama 25. So that's 10 SEC teams on the women's, 4 SEC teams on the men. The tournament will be coming up in March, the March Madness, just to give you an idea for those who don't follow it as closely. on the men's side as well as women. There's 31 automatic qualifiers. Those are the conferences. You have 37 at large, which equals the 68 teams. The selection committee, there's 12 members. They're on 5-year terms. The chair of the selection committee is Keith Gill, the Sun Belt Conference commissioner. And this weekend, they're going to have the top 16 reveal by the NCAA. That's going to be this weekend, the top 16 reveal. I'm not sure. Might get maybe a couple SEC teams will make the 1 through 4, which is part of that top 16. There are 4 different regions. And the women's basketball, the same thing. Automatic qualifiers, 31, at-large, 37. There are 68 teams, and that's a total number. There's 12 members on their selection committee. And they had the top 16 reveal already this past week. Amanda Braun, the athletic director of University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, is the chair. And the top 16 reveal, number 3 was South Carolina, number 4 was Vandy. That means they would be number 1 seeds. Number 5 is Texas. Number 8 is LSU. Number 15 is Ole Miss. Number 16 is Oklahoma. So there were 6 SEC teams on the women's side out of the top 16. So they've been strong for decades on the women's side. But like I said, we discussed this in the past, probably in the neighborhood of 10 teams for the men. I think that will make the final 68 and probably 10 or so on the women's side as well. So they'll be well represented with the men's and women's basketball programs in the SEC March Madness. I think that the SEC, they could probably get a team in the Final Four. Somebody gets hot. You have to win some close games. You have to get the right calls. You have to be hot one day against or one evening against a team that is superior than you. And that's the way you're going to win basketball games. We always emphasize when we discuss basketball, it's ball in the basket. That's what's going to count in the end. You could rebound well, play defense, and all those are important. And especially at the end, you make your free throws. That's critical. Free throws, especially near the end of the game, can win a ball game for you in the crunch time. You want to have a good percentage throughout the game, but especially in the tight situation at the end of the ball game. We've seen teams miss free throws and give opportunities for a team to come back or make a last-second shot or not further and advance the lead to solidify the victory. So free throws at the end, point guard play is very, very important, and high shooting percentage and good defense against the 3-point shot. That's always a strong consideration when the coaches are preparing their teams to further and advance in the NCAA tournament. But the SEC, I think, is they have a chance to have a team, I think, in the Final Four. You never can tell. Somebody plays well. Somebody, you have a hot shooting night against a team that's better than you, as I said. Those are some of the ways that you can make the Final Four and excite your fans and your alumni base and reach it. It's going to be in Indianapolis this year. I can't wait to cover it, as I always do. The Final Four is in Indianapolis, the home of the NCAA, and that's basketball country. Indiana, as we know, it's now football country, as we've learned. Indiana is a team that had the last undefeated team in men's basketball in 1976. Indiana, 32-0, and then they also had a school that had an undefeated football team, 16-0, which is half of the basketball victory. So that's kind of unique. Who would have thought that Indiana would be the school to have an undefeated football team and an undefeated basketball team in their history, 50 years apart? Well, I guess it's technically 49. If you look at it, it's the 2025 season for the football team and the 75-76 calendar year for the basketball team. But it's still quite amazing to reveal that fact that Indiana is undefeated in football and basketball. That's quite a feat. But anyhow, we're going to have a good guest coming up in these next 3 segments. And it's always nice to get somebody else's opinion about the SEC and people who cover those teams. I know that Courtney Mims, she's University of Florida graduate, but she's very knowledgeable about the University of Arkansas and their athletic programs. And then Cierra Clark, she's animated and has strong opinions about the SEC with her, and she's the host of SEC T, and also it's on SEC Unfiltered. So we look forward to visiting with those two women in segments 2, 3, and 4. And like I say, we like to make mention of our sponsor, Greer's 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi. And you can find all the things you need for your parties and your sporting events, and you get your family and friends together for those special occasions and the birthdays and the anniversaries and the Mardi Gras, and just watching the NCAA tournament that will be coming up, the March Madness, or the SEC basketball tournament on the men's and the women's side. So remember to check out Greer's, their online weekly ads, and their coloring contest for the children, Lucy's famous recipes, and her book. And so remember, Greer's got it, they guarantee it. But anyway, we're going to be back in a few moments with our next guest, Courtney Mims, the sports director at FOX16 in Little Rock, Arkansas. So we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, a friend of the show, Courtney Mims, sports director, FOX16, Little Rock, Arkansas. Welcome to AP as we see it, Courtney. Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me again. I enjoy coming on the show with you, AP.
Yeah, you know all the names and the scenarios and the dynamics. That's why I love to talk to you, even though you're a Florida grad, right? Florida, right?
Yeah, I am a Florida grad. You're right.
But you know Arkansas, I can tell you that right now for those who are unaware of your talents and skills. But I guess we'll get into the football first. Ryan Silverfield, the former Memphis head coach, successful, is the new first-year head coach for the Razorbacks. What do you like to tell people about Ryan right now?
I think right now there's still so much that we don't know, right? Whenever you have a new coach, they come in and it's like all the talk, right? They're trying to win the press conference. And so there's so much that he's done really well getting up in front of the media and winning the press conference, right? And so he even had one just yesterday talking about all the things they're doing. And his message to the team was everybody has a clean slate. Whether you've come from a different school, whether you've stayed at Arkansas, everybody's clean slate. We're learning. We're all doing this together. I want to build my culture here, and you're going to be a part of that. So whatever you know before, throw it away. Clean slate, everybody. And that's even for the defensive coordinator and Ron Roberts. He got up there and said, yeah, I came from an SEC program in Florida, but he told me clean slate. I got to have a clean slate. So, and I kind of love that mentality of him. I also love that he is a guy that's big on making sure that the system is fit to the player, not the players that need to fit the system, like molding the players to fit what they're doing. They're molding the system around the players. And I like that too, that he's really player orientated, player driven, right? It's about the guys in that locker room. And you can really feel that passion from Ryan Silverfield off the jump. What I'm curious about is what's going to happen when the actual games get played, right?
Yes.
That still remains to be seen. And, he always gets knocked on one thing. Even when he was hired, he gets knocked on one big thing. Well, you don't have SEC experience. How do you think you're going to win games in the SEC? Right. And his retort to that is, I've beaten SEC teams. I've beaten SEC squads, and I wasn't even in the SEC. And 2, I have NFL experience. So if you want to value experience, why don't you value it in the Pro Football League, right? Why don't you value it at the highest level of football? Because I've had experience coaching in the NFL. And so I think that's kind of a unique perspective to bring here and to have that and kind of say, look, I get it. You guys want to knock me for not having this experience in this conference. And it's a tough conference, no joke. but I do have experience in other places. And I think that's why the players like to play for him as well. That's what we hear often from the guys who are committing, the guys who even flipped. He flipped on his on on the first day on the job. It gets announced Ryan Silverfield is hired, and he flips all these in-state commits to Arkansas, very talented Arkansas players. He flips them day one. And so that, to me, the proof is in the pudding. I've asked all of those commits, why did you flip? Why did you want to go to Arkansas, a team that was 2-10 last year, when you could join a winning program? Some of these guys were committed to, Missouri, which is in a better spot than Arkansas, arguably right now. And so, I said, why did you want to flip? And they said, it's because of Ryan Silverfield. It's truthfully because we felt like he is truly building something there. So I think whether or not you want to criticize him or you want to talk positively about him, there still remains to be seen what happens on the field. But I think Arkansas fans are optimistic going into this year.
Yeah, he must have a powerful message. And oh, by the way, he did beat a team called the Razorbacks last year. So
yeah,
Arkansas,
that stings a little bit.
Don't say that too loud, right? So the quarterback situation, we're going to explore. That's my favorite position because it's so important, the quarterback-centric era. What can you say about the quarterback position? He brought in A.J. Hill, the transfer from Memphis, and a remaining reserve for the Arkansas team. What can you say about the quarterback battle?
Well, I think Arkansas fans are going to be excited to watch this quarterback battle because for the first time in what feels like a long time. I mean, I know it hasn't in years wise, it hasn't been that long, but it feels, as long as I've been covering the program, we've always kind of known who the quarterback would be, right? Taylon Green for a couple of years. Then you had KJ Jefferson. So we've known for a good bit who the quarterback is going to be going into each season. We haven't really had a true quarterback battle, and they always go into spring saying there's going to be a battle, and you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, there's going to be a battle. Okay, sure. We know who the quarterback's going to be, right? So
Yes.
This year we actually have a true battle. I think there is going to be good competition in spring ball with AJ Hill, like you said, the transfer from Memphis, who's very, very talented. And then also KJ Jackson, who was, if you remember, Taylon Green's backup last year. He got action in a couple of games, and the games that he did play in, he showed sparks of wow, this guy is talented. And we've seen that in the media. I said at the beginning of the year, KJ Jackson needs to play way more than he did, right? They went with Taylon Green. Taylon Green, obviously talented, but KJ Jackson was kind of, when we saw him in spring ball, I mean, he could do so many different things. He can use his legs, kind of like Taylon Green, right? But just the way he throws, for being so young, right? Just being a redshirt sophomore and last year a redshirt freshman, the way he throws was just, it's so accurate. It's pretty. His timing is good. His reads needed a little bit of help at certain times in practice where there was, you see that he's a little bit young and he's still fine tuning the craft. But like I said, man, he's a good QB and he's going to keep developing. So to get him back, he originally, when Ryan Silverfield said, I'm coming back or I'm taking the job at Arkansas, the day after he took the job, his press conference or whatever, a couple days after he took the job, they had his press conference and KJ Jackson gets up and says, I'm coming back. I want to work for this guy. And I'm going, whoa, that's huge. That's huge that he wants to come back and fine tune his skills. Then you also have AJ Hill. Obviously, very talented quarterback that Memphis leaned on this season, beat Arkansas, like you had mentioned before the show started. And so there is going to be a battle because what does AJ Hill have over KJ Jackson? Well, AJ knows the system. AJ's also been under the offensive coordinator and Tim Cramsey. So he's just more aware of what they're used to running, right? KJ's not. So it's going to be interesting to see in spring ball what happens. I know they're very excited about the QB battle. I agree with Tim Cramsey. He's like, let's take the jersey off and see what they can actually do. Let's get him, because we want to see exactly what they can do when the pressure's on, right? And sometimes in spring, you're cautious with your QBs for good reason. But Tim Cramsey's like, this is a real QB battle. We got to take that jersey off. We gotta make sure that we get to see exactly what these guys can do. And I think it's going to be an interesting one.
40 plus Spurs, we're running short on time here, last 3 minutes, Courtney. Defensively, that's been the Achilles for Arkansas, I think, the last few years, really. Because they usually score points, Arkansas, most of the time. But the
Yeah.
defense, yeah. So what about the defense?
Yeah, well, the defense, I think it'll be better. And now here's the thing. I think it will be better doesn't mean that it's going to be the major turnaround that everybody wants to see. I like
Yes.
who I like who Silverfield brought in to be the defensive coordinator. I think Ron Roberts, if you look at Florida's defense last year, Florida's defense was pretty stout. They were pretty good. So I think that is an exciting thing for Arkansas fans to go, okay, we like the staff he brought in. What I don't like is that their defensive line coach and Marion Hobby, who brought with him accolades and all this experience, and I was like, yes, this is a great hire. He jumped ship. He went to he went to the Indianapolis Colts to take their defensive line position. So they were kind of going, okay, we're maybe in a bind. Ryan Silverfield said all he's going to do is promote from within. He technically hired 2 defensive line coaches when he went out and built that
Right.
staff. So he's going to promote. The other situation that I didn't bring up that I do want to mention, AP, is that he wasn't the only coach to leave. We're also curious with this whole quarterback battle, who's going to be the coach there? Because Clint Trickett, who they hired back in December to be their quarterbacks coach, he is now up and going to Maryland to be their offensive coordinator. So Arkansas doesn't have a QB's coach anymore. So who are they going to go out and get there? That's going to be interesting because I don't know if they can just promote from within for such a pivotal position for that team, especially when you have a QB battle and these guys were excited to get to work under Clint Trickett. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But to go back to the defense, what I think Arkansas fans can rest on and say, hey, why is this defense going to be better? Well, look to one of the leaders on defense that last year that was listed in so many NFL draft pre-draft reports and pre-draft picks and everything. He was listed in so many things. Everyone thought he was gone. And who I'm talking about is Quincy Rhodes. He's a Little Rock native. And they were like, he's gone, no big deal. He's going to the NFL. Well, he decided to come back. If that doesn't tell you that he believes in this defense, that he believes in the staff that Coach Silverfield has put together, and that he believes that the guys that he's going to be surrounded by are going to be talented folks, because that can kill your career. If you were listed in the first and second rounds to be a first or second round pick, I would say, to me, that I would be gone. That if
Probably
that's just
so.
me, I'd be gone. He decided to stay. That to me tells me, okay, there's some faith here that things are going to be better. There's some faith here that Quincy Rhodes feels like he's going to have a really great season. And if he was going to be picked second round, he might play his way into a first round pick, you know? So to me, there's a little proof in the pudding there. So.
But that's promising, though. But anyway, Courtney, we ran out of time here. We want to thank you so much. The Hogs, the Razorback basketball team, is doing very well under John Calipari and Darius Acuff, the sensational freshman point guard. But Courtney Mims, sports director, FOX16, Little Rock, Arkansas. And we'll be back right after these messages with AP. As we say, thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, a friend of the show, Cierra Clark, host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered. Welcome back to AP as we see it, Cierra.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cierra, let's tell people where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on my social media pages, Cierra R. Clark _ on Instagram, and on Twitter, I'm Cierra Clark TV. You can see how to spell my name right there. And I also have a podcast that airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. on YouTube and wherever you pass on the SEC Unfiltered channels.
Perfect. Cierra, I know you had a chance to cover the Frank Broyles award in Arkansas. Was that a new venue this year, I guess?
I believe it's been at Hot Springs for a little bit now. It was in Little Rock for a while, but Hot Springs at the Oaklawn Casino is a great spot. There's the horse racing. I am not well versed in horse racing at all, to be honest with you. But I know the season got started back up, and it was pretty cool because some of the coaches got to see all of that. They also, a lot of them brought their wives, which is awesome because during the football season, I'm sure things get very busy. So they got to look around Oaklawn, and also there's a really nice spa there. So I was happy that the coaches got to get some relaxing time for once.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But you had a chance to visit with the new Auburn University coach, Alex Golish. What was your take after interviewing him?
Yes. So he was a former finalist for the Broyles Award when he was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. And he got to go to the Broyles Award this year in Hot Springs. And I was grateful that I got to talk to him. And I asked him, Coach, you brought 13 new players with you. 11 of them came from South Florida. What brings you that confidence that these guys can play in the SEC? And he was like, well, there's some game film with them playing against SEC teams. And I didn't tell him where I went to school. I went to Florida. I was like, oh, I know what SEC team he's talking about. He's talking about the Gators because USF beat Florida in the regular season. And that was part of the reason why Billy Napier was fired at Florida. But he was a great guy. He seems very motivated and just ready to get things going at Auburn. I asked him, he's really not focused on the past and what happened at Auburn because that was kind of out of his control. He's ready to get things moving forward. And I asked him about his quarterback, Byron Brown. He is another guy that came from USF to Auburn. And he said he is one of the most selfless players that he's ever met. And he wouldn't be surprised if he's a household name when his Auburn era is over. So I'm excited to see what he can do on the Plains there.
Yeah, big numbers. I think 42 touchdowns. I think 28 passing. I think 14 on the ground for the quarterback.
Yeah.
So dynamic player, dynamic quarterback. But I don't know. He's been in the SEC, so I wouldn't question his credentials. And he's done well at South Florida with lesser talent perceived, let's say.
Yes. Yeah.
So. And then you had a chance to interview assistant coach, the offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo, University of Georgia. And what did you learn from Mike?
Yeah, he is just so proud to be a Georgia Bulldog. He's from Georgia. He has sons on the team. And I asked him about Gunnar Stockton because Gunnar recently announced that he's returning back to Georgia, which people pretty much expected. But in this college football era, you really never know what's going to happen.
You don't.
And I asked him, I was like, why is Gunnar Stockton such a fit in Athens? And he said that Gunnar Stockton is about the University of Georgia, and he's just really passionate about that school and improving every single day. And I also asked him about the run game and how that's improved at Georgia. And he talked about how really the offensive line has just really improved their front. And that's something that Georgia fans really can look forward to upcoming. He also has both of his sons on the team, and he has a set of twins. So at one point he had 5 kids under the age of 4, which is crazy, but look forward to him.
Oh, he must be in good shape, or somebody's in good shape, right?
Yeah.
Running around. Yeah, Gunnar Stockton, he's a winning quarterback. I mean, they won the league 2 years in a row. I mean, even when they couldn't run the ball last year and they had the most drops, they won the conference. And then this year, I always said, even though Alabama defeated them early, I thought that Georgia was still the team to beat to win the conference. Yes. And sure enough, that's what happened. So
yes.
I don't know. I just think the reason they're not winning is it's not going to be Gunnar Stockton, I don't think.
Right. And I also asked him about, what's it like playing under Kirby Smart? And he's like, well, you got to be ready every single day. Kirby's an intense guy, I'm sure, like everyone knows. And I just love seeing guys who are passionate about the University of Georgia, in this transfer portal era. You're getting players who come for 1 year, leave for 1 year, really aren't loyal to a school. But I think it's really helpful when you have coaches who are alums of that program and can really instill that passion into those athletes.
Yeah, and Georgia knows how to win. They may have some downs during the season. Lost to Alabama a couple of times, but they came back and defeated Alabama at the end of the year by 3 touchdowns. So Georgia knows how to win football games with defense, with some offense, just different ways, special teams. But anyhow, the SEC reputation right now, Cierra, 3 years, not a national championship, not in the championship game. So the SEC, I think, has lost some cachet. Your opinion?
I hate to say it, but I also agree with you. There's no doubt that the SEC is full of talent, and you see it when you see these guys play on Sundays. I do feel like the SEC has the most depth from top to bottom compared to other conferences like the Big Ten. Like you won't hear about Rutgers in football or whatever, but in the SEC, it's no shock that schools like Auburn can pull off an upset and all those sorts of things. And I think the SEC does have the most depth, but I think the athletes that are being recruited understand that, oh, wait, I don't have to play at Alabama to see success. I can go to an Indiana and find success there. Indiana winning the national championship really just kind of throws all of the blue blood belief that we have had in this sport for years. That's why I really didn't understand the Lane Kiffin situation that much when he was like, oh, well, I can win a national championship at LSU, but I can't do that at Ole Miss. And I understand recruiting wise, it's probably a little bit easier to recruit in Louisiana because LSU is the only major institution in the state of Louisiana. But, you know, Ole Miss has been ahead of Mississippi State for years and years. And Oxford has a great NIL deal with the Grove Collective, and they made it to the college football semifinals. They beat Georgia. And that also shows that, okay, the most blue blood of the programs in the SEC aren't always the most successful. So I think when you have a coach that believes in its players and when you get those good players, I think it has to be a really good balance of both.
I think it's a nightmare for every athletic director that Indiana won.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because go ahead.
Sorry about that. Because Ryan Silverfield, Arkansas's new head coach, was actually asked about that. He was asked, what's all the pressure? Indiana could win. You guys can do it too. And he's like, hold on, guys. I kind of feel bad for him because people are like, oh, Indiana won a national title in 2 years in the Cignetti era. You got to do it now too. And it's like, Indiana is a once in a lifetime situation. I do think Cignetti will be very successful there in the years to come, especially with their new quarterback, Josh Hoover. But that is not a one size fits all situation.
Yeah. And I think, Indiana is different because they don't have the 5 stars. They brought, I think, 13 people from James Madison. I think 6 or 7 remain, and 2 or 3 of them made the All-American team. And then they had the exceptional quarterback transfer, Fernando Mendoza. So I don't even think they did it with their NIL, but they did awake a sleeping giant. And I didn't know this before the season, Sarah, maybe you did, but Indiana, the biggest alumni in the country. I didn't know they had the most people. I would never suspected Indiana.
I learned that this year as well. And I heard about people talking about, oh my gosh, all of ththese Indiana fans at all of the college football playoff games, those guys travel. And I was just very happy for that fan base to find success.
Anyway, as I was saying about Indiana, that was phenomenal what they did. And like I said, that's every athletic director's nightmare. We got about, let's say, 2 minutes here. So the SEC, that reputation right now, they have to earn it again, I would say, because the Big Ten is coming on strong with 3 national championships and 3 different teams as well.
Yeah. And I think the rest of the SEC kind of knows that. Obviously, the teams are very much focused on themselves, but the league as a whole is like, okay, we got to speed things up here amongst the conference. Now, I will say when it comes to the other sports in the SEC, I still do think they're very dominant when it comes to basketball, baseball. There's no really touching them there, but especially in baseball. But I think that with football, it's just kind of the sport as a whole is a lot more leveled, and players really feel like they don't have to go to a certain blue blood anymore. I could honestly think that Nick Saban leaving was the domino to fall because they're like, well, you go to Alabama if I want to go to the NFL. It's not really the case anymore. You can really go anywhere as long as you have a coach that believes in you and then a coach that knows what they're doing. And I feel like Curt Cignetti is really about business. We saw that, and that kind of inspires a lot of other people to see, okay, well, if they can do it, then we can do it too.
Absolutely. Hey, Cierra, we're going to come right back after these messages and continue our discussion about the SEC and college football. That's the sport we love. We love college basketball too, but college football, that really, that's our number one love is college football. So anyway, we'll be right back after these messages with another segment of AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with our very special guest with AP, as we see it, Cierra Clark, the host of SECT on SECUnfiltered. And Cierra, Trinidad Shambles, he was a marvel last year, sensational player for the University of Mississippi, transferring from Ferris State, Division II champion out of Michigan. What can you tell us about Trinidad Shambles and his successful adjudication of his status?
Yeah, it's really been a storybook season for the Ole Miss Rebels, and a lot of that has to do with Trinidad Chambliss. You know, he was the backup originally for the Rebs, and Austin Simmons was the starter. He got hurt, and when his number was called, Trinidad's, he came right up, and it was been pretty cool going to Oxford this fall, seeing the Trinidad and Tobago flags across Oxford, Mississippi, because his name is Trinidad. It's so funny. I actually met his mom in Oxford. We ran into each other in the square, and she was talking about how at his previous school, she's like, you know, this is just so cool to see the Trinidad flags. Like, the last school didn't even like put that together. She was like, this Ole Miss team, or for this Ole Miss community to come up with that. And they're from Michigan. And so for him to come down to Oxford, Mississippi, and for them to really embrace him has been really cool. But just, you know, he is just such like a team player. He's so calm and collected, which is so I just respect him for, because Ole Miss had all of this off the field drama with Kiffin, or if he was going to stay or not. Like when the Egg Bowl, when that was going on, it seemed like the main story was, what is Lane Kiffin doing? And for this team to stay so focused is really admirable. And a lot of them signed deals to come back to Ole Miss the next year, which is really awesome, because it shows that, you know, money can't always buy loyalty. They believe in Pete Golding. Pete Golding believes in them, and they proved it when they beat Georgia, because there were some people that thought that, you know, Ole Miss should not be in the college football playoff because their head coach is not there. Well, they were in the college football playoff, and they almost made it to the national championship game. Miami's defense is just incredible, but it shows that the Rebels are not lower tier in the SEC anymore. And I'm excited to see what Pete Golding does next season.
Right. Can they be consistent and stay at that level? That's going to be the big discussion. But you have the quarterback, which is the key essential ingredient for success in this quarterback-centric era, as I always tell my audience. When you're looking at some of the other quarterback situations, one that fascinates me is the Alabama scenario, because you have Austin Mack, California native, was at the University of Washington, came to Alabama, Tuscaloosa with Kalen DeBoer. Then you have Keelan Russell, the National High School Player of the Year, voted by the Maxwell people from Duncanville High School. So he sat last year, and now you have those two trying to earn that spot. If you were the head coach, I'm gonna give this to you, Cierra. If you were the head coach, you're trying to keep both of them. You want to keep both of them. Would you try to play both of them?
Yeah, I agree. You have to. And I think competition is so important for players to develop their skills and to bring that chemistry amongst the rest of the team. And you never know who could get hurt. Someone could have a Trinidad Chambliss situation come up, and it's also important for Caleb DeBoer to have two quality quarterbacks, because you don't want to rely on, and I say this as respectful as I can, as some D3 walk-on quarterback that transferred to Alabama. You want a recruited guy who you are confident that can take over if somebody unfortunately gets hurt. And so, yes, if I'm DeBoer, I want to keep both of those guys, and I want them to be really fighting out every single week for that job.
Yeah, I don't know what else to do because they're very talented, both of them. And with this transfer portal, the one opening they have in January, I don't know what the other quarterback does if you want to move on. And you find out after spring ball that the coach had a discussion with both of us, and I wasn't the one he selected.
Yeah. That's like with Auburn, or with the Auburn transfer, Deuce Knight, who transferred from Auburn to Ole Miss. And, when the Trinidad Chambliss case got approved for another 6-year, well, he was granted a temporary injunction. So he's pretty much cleared to play for this upcoming season for a 6th year of eligibility. And I noticed that Knight, who transferred from Auburn as a quarterback, was back up there. He's a Mississippi native. I haven't checked his Instagram as of lately, but when that ruling happened, he took out all of the Ole Miss stuff from his bio on Instagram. So very interesting to see that. He's an underclassman still. He still has some time, but it's like, gosh, like these kids, I understand time is precious and they want to be able to start right away, but that's not always the case. You got to really prove yourself there.
Yeah, and Trinidad Chambliss definitely proved himself. Coming from Ferris State, the national championship team, and almost got him into the national championship game at the FBS level. So,
right.
So I don't know, but moving on to the college football playoff, I wanted your opinion, Cierra. I'm fine with 12 teams. We know we have two people, the commissioner of the Big Ten, the commissioner of the SEC. They can't come to an agreement or a compromise. Do you favor 12? Would you like to see 16, the 5-11 model by the SEC? Do you want to see 24 as proposed by the Big Ten? Maybe you have another idea.
I think 12 is fine. I think this is the best college football playoff really we've ever seen, just because of the quality teams. And we're not penalizing teams as much. There is a 2-loss Miami team in the college football playoff, and they made it all the way to the national championship game. And, a few years ago, when there was only 4 teams, they wouldn't even sniff the thought of being in the room. So I think it's great for the sport. I do think that there could be some changes there. I didn't like that there was 2 group of 5 teams. As a Florida fan, selfishly, I am glad that Tulane got in, because we got to see John Summerall show that, hey, I can make it to a college football playoff. But I think 12 teams is great. You get great representation from across the league, and it really weeds itself out. I do really like the on-campus games. I think that's an incredible environment, and it's kind of interesting because the top seeded teams really don't get to have those on-campus environment games. And I think that is so fun for college football to even see that. And maybe there could be some changes with that as well, but also it's just really interesting that the bye weeks, the teams that get the bye seem to really struggle. Indiana, for the past 2 years that we've had a college football playoff to 12 teams, Indiana this year was the only team with the bye that really got the win. So I think that's the bye I'm not too much of a fan of. I think we're making the season really long. And then I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head, but I know they're pushing back the dates even more. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, I know, like, we don't want to, I know, like, NFL is taken over on the weekends when it's NFL playoffs, but Saturday, I believe, still belongs for college football, and also like a Monday national championship game. Not a fan of that either.
No, me either. Yeah, I think it's January 25th this year or something. It's getting close to February.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Really.
We just have a couple minutes, Cierra. That Ole Miss LSU dynamic this year, that's going to be a firecracker. Just waiting to explode.
I'm excited. I hope I get to go. They might need to call in the National Guard when Lane Kiffin comes into town, because that was just a crazy situation when he left. And when I went to the Tulane Ole Miss game for the first round of the playoffs, I was just there as a fan, and they had all these signs saying, like, Tulane versus no lane and all of the, of course, like it was around Christmas time. So we saw the stuff for, excuse my French, but people were saying ho, 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 not the Santa type of ho, but a different for Lane Kiffin. If you guys didn't see, the one reporter for Ole Miss on 3, I believe, said something along the lines of "You can't turn a hoe into a housewife," and that's what he was referencing Lane Kiffin with that, and Lane Kiffin was mad about it. But it's going to be really interesting, that dynamic there, because they also played at LSU. It's always weird when the past few years with Lane Kiffin, because last year when LSU came to Oxford, that was when Lane's daughter announced that she was dating one of the LSU players, Whit Weeks. And now Lane is coming back in different colors, and it's going to be really interesting. I'm sure he's always, it seems like he's very grateful for his time in Oxford, but he felt in his heart that he needed to go to LSU, and LSU wants to win. They want to be back to where they were. They're a championship program, and I'm excited to see how that matchup goes, because Ole Miss is going to be coming off of a high from making it that far in the playoff, and it's the SEC opener, so it's just going to have so much juice to it, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think Lane Kiffin right now, he's in a no excuse position, because Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, has like some of the highest per capita college football talent in the country for that size state, and then he's the transfer king. The transfer portal king. So you're getting the transfer. You have the outstanding high school talent locally. What is your excuse now?
Right. It's not like the state of Florida, where you've got to compete with Florida. If let's say you're Florida, you got to compete with FSU and Miami, and maybe even UCF for some players that are kind of mid-tier. You got to compete with all those guys. And Louisiana, it's just LSU. There's, of course, Louisiana Lafayette and Louisiana Tech, but they're nowhere on the level that LSU is.
In Tulane, right? No, in Tulane, of course. Yeah, Tulane. But anyway, hey, Cierra, we want to thank you so much. This concludes our show for the week, but we want to thank Cierra Clark, the host of SECT on SECUnfiltered. And we always enjoy the various topics that we get to broach with you, and we look forward to the next time, and we hope to see you down the road at a game or media days or something of that nature. But thank you so much, Cierra Clark, for being on AP As We See It.
Thanks for having me.
And that concludes our show, and we'll be back next week with another episode of AP As We See It.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.